Well, hello again, everybody. We're back here at Real Talk at the Barbershop, in the barbershop. And guess what, y'all? I have the opportunity to talk with none other. Hold it, hold it. None other than Calvin Quallis, CEO of Scotch Porter. Good Googa Mooga. My life just can't get any better. Calvin, welcome.
Pleasure to meet you.
How are you,
I'm
man?
good. I'm good.
Y'all, is he wearing that coat or what? It should be mine, but I'm, I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna have to deal with the fact that sometimes somebody else gonna show me up, and he done good, y'all. He looks good. I'm totally digging this whole ensemble.
Thank you. Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
You doing good?
I'm good. Yes, I am.
Calvin, CEO, Scotch Porter, entrepreneur, extraordinaire, killing it right now. You are the man. Come on your greatness, man. Own your greatness. It must feel really good.
It does feel good.
I
It does
betcha.
feel good.
So Calvin, Scotch Porter, been in existence for how long now?
For 7 years.
7 years.
7 years.
But we know that it just didn't start like, this wasn't by happenstance. This wasn't something that, just you wake up one day and it's there. It started from somewhere. So tell me how Scotch Porter began. And as I understand, I'm not going to tell your story, but as I understand, speaking of Real Talk at the Barbershop, it all happened from the barbershop.
It did.
Okay.
Yep, it
So
did.
tell me about it.
Yes. So 7 years ago, started Scotch Porter, literally from Barbershop. But a bit of a backstory is I was a kid growing up in my mom's shop, and my brother and I spent a tremendous amount of time there. As a kid, you kind of hated it because no kid wanted to be at the barbershop. They had you
Sure.
running errands and sweeping up here. But kind of looking back and in hindsight, what I really appreciated and remember the most was this ability that my mom and some of the other barbers and stylists had in helping people to feel better about themselves. Always a pretty intuitive kid, so I'd notice the folks that would come into the shop looking, feeling one way, and then kind of would have my mom and the others do their thing, and they'd walk out sort of like look in the mirror, pop the collar, walk out with an entirely new step. So that kind of stuck with me. Went off to college because I was told I should be going to college. Was told that I needed to get a good job because that's what people do, right? You got to pay bills, and ended up working in finance at a market research firm, and really hated that job. Sitting behind a desk all day looking at numbers and money that didn't belong to me. And I guess what I really didn't want to have is like these regrets. I didn't want to be the 40-something-year-old kind of coming to work every day on the train, kind of schlepping a cup of coffee from the deli with a newspaper. And so I made a promise to myself, I think it was like approaching 30, that the next idea that popped into my head, I'd follow it through, whatever it was, as long as it stuck for a little while. And as fate would have it, coming home from work, one long day of work, spotted a brownstone building, had an epiphany from my time growing up in my mom's shop, and decided to open up a barbershop.
It's so interesting that you use the word, you're going to follow through.
Yeah.
And I recently had a conversation with a partner of yours, and we were just talking about follow through. And one of the things that he said, I was talking to the CEO of Cut Buddy, who you have an opportunity to work with as well. And he said, that he was having a conversation with his wife, and his wife had said to him, I won't go to the whole story, but had said to him, "You just don't follow through." And that was the key for him, where he says, I took out this notebook and I had these ideas, and I said, man, I'm going to really follow through. And that's how it kind of get through. And so same for you, how you said, the next idea that comes through my head, I'm going to follow through with it.
Yep.
And it's so interesting that you mentioned that, and the importance of that follow through, right?
Absolutely, super important.
And I'm sure that probably in your journey as you built Scotch Porter, that played a significant role in you being able to get to where you are.
I think a lot of us entrepreneurs, just normal human beings, walk around with a lot of self-doubt, and that prevents us from kind of following through or taking initiative on a lot of things. But I made myself a promise a long time ago, and I've always known that I should be doing something a little bit more meaningful. Not sure what that was. And this journey took me to the barbershop. But
Wow.
is really that follow through, right? If something sticks with you for a while, you need to just at least see it through. And I can imagine that I would ever open up a barbershop. I also could not have imagined back then that I'd own a personal care business. Like it just, to me, it wasn't at that time written in the cards. But the follow through has led me to where I am now in Scotch Porter in the business.
So when you started Scotch Porter, what was your first product? Or did it start from the product, or did you open a barbershop first and then it led into the product development piece of it?
Yep.
How did it evolve?
So I actually opened a barbershop
Okay.
first. Again, it was like this point in time where I was trying to figure out like my purpose and meaning and figuring out what to do. And I didn't know that it would be like in the barbershop, but it sat with this idea for a while. And then I think too, I was working in finance. There was nothing very creative about that. And so I was looking for a creative outlet. And so this barbershop that we opened up wasn't just a barbershop. So it was almost like this community or cultural hub where we had like art exhibitions, where we had like the mayors come in and do a debate. We had discussions around mental health and wellness. So it definitely wasn't just a barbershop, but more of a community hub. And it allowed me to kind of like flex my creative muscle. And so it kind of fulfilled me there. And it actually did help me to kind of feel better, which, kind of thinking back and looking back on that, that's kind of what translated to our mission at Scotch Porter, right? Helping men to feel their best and live their best, most fulfilled lives.
So what led to that creation of that first product? Was it that you just didn't find what you were looking for, or you just had an idea? What was it that got you started?
So it's the customers. I mean, the customers coming into the shop each and every day, spotted some issues, grooming issues that some of those folks had, and again, bored with the daytime desk job. So kind of created a hobby for myself where I also had the opportunity to solve some of the issues that our customers had, and kind of became like a kitchen chemist at home and learned
No
everything.
way.
Yes, and learned everything I could kind of about like natural ingredients and which ones I could utilize to solve some of the issues that they had, and kind of tinkering with products. I had the perfect, I guess, like testing ground with the barbershop, right? So I'd create products, bring them back to the shop, hand off to the barbers. I'm not a barber. Hand off to the barbers, and the barbers would use it on the customers and would get feedback. And so over some time, kind of tweak things. Our first products that we had launched were a hair balm and a beard balm.
Okay. And so what was probably what's been the biggest lesson you learned when you first got started off, right? What was the biggest lessons that you learned that led to the expansion of your product line?
Yeah, I've learned that no one man is an army, and that if you have like super ambitious goals, there's no way that you could actually do this by yourself. It's not possible to live with one person, right? And that it really does take a team. And I've also learned that you need to become very clear on what it is that you are good at, and what you are not good at. You need to give that to the folks that are really good at it, because it's a game changer.
You're speaking my language there. I'm a big student of understanding what you're good at. And there's that whole theory of leadership, right?
Yep.
That says, there's one theory that says, figure out what you're good at, what you're not good at, put a plan in place to fix what you're not good at. But then there's this whole other theory of figure out what you're good at, figure out what you're not so good at, put a plan to continue growing what you're good at.
Yeah.
And let somebody else handle the stuff that you're not so good at.
Yes. And I'm still a student, right? So there's still probably some things that I'm not so great at that I'm probably doing, but I think I've come a pretty long way in understanding like the opportunity that lies within kind of like working in what you're excellent at, and being clear on what that is.
So tell me about your journey kind of getting into Walmart. So how did that all happen?
Yeah, so I met with a distributor some time ago when we weren't quite ready for retail, and just sort of stayed connected. And when I felt the time was right, I reached back out, and the time was right because we kind of looked at the landscape and our customers were shopping at Walmart. And so it absolutely made sense for us to be there. And because we are an accessible, affordable brand, and because Walmart has always been committed to being accessible and affordable, the partnership is great. it does really allow us to meet millions of customers every year. And our end goal is to really be able to connect with our customers, connect with some of those customers, and be able to deliver information and tools to help them show up as their best each and every day.
You know, in just a few minutes that I've had with you, it is very clear that you don't have step. It is very clear you do your homework. Like, you just couldn't say, like, I'm just going to show up at Walmart.
Yeah.
It is clear that you really studied, figured things out before you got yourself, you know, ready to jump into this. Tell me what that process was like. What was the process that you went through to kind of prepare yourself for when that opportunity came your way?
There's a couple of things. One, really understanding what it means to play at retail. And so asking a ton of questions from a ton of people, understanding the margin structure, understanding chargebacks, really understanding retail business and what it means to play there and to play well, right? And so did a lot of homework, really understood the business, really understood the margin structure, what that would require in terms of finances, in terms of team. And I felt that we were in the right spot at that time to really launch at retail, but it was a bunch of homework to really understand retail business, which is very different from D2C, where we started. It's a different world.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure that throughout that journey, you know, there were some mishaps, there were some stumbling blocks that could have easily stopped you and said, I'm out of here. You know, I'm going to stick with my barbershop and be done, right? What was it that kept you going in those moments?
I think it's that early work, right? That figuring out like your why, you know, your personal mission, right? And so big word for me is legacy. And so like it's on my screensaver on my phone. It's kind of like plastered around my office. And it's a super it's a very important word to me. And so like during some of the toughest times, having a really compelling why that revolves around legacy and wanting to have impact is the thing that keeps me going, because entrepreneurship is hard.
Yes.
And there's a lot that folks don't see sort of that happens kind of behind the scenes, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. A lot of folks walking around like mentally unhealthy because of entrepreneurship. So, but having a super compelling why, a big why, like big audacious why that doesn't just involve you, but also involves others, your family, community, and others, kind of is the fuel that kind of keeps you going and keeps you recharged on like some of the toughest weeks and months. At least for me, it has been.
So tell me about your line. So you've got, you know, you started off, you said with a hair balm and then with a beard balm. What else do you have in your line?
Yeah, so we have everything from skincare, soon to be launching other items like body care, fragrances, accessories. So covering folks from head to toe.
Do you have your favorite?
Yes. So our hair balm is super. Use it every day. Super moisturizing, helps kind of define the waves and curls. Our fragrance, my favorite is Miami Duppy. Yeah, and like our skincare line, you know, our face lotion and our scrub are really excellent products.
What would you recommend for others who would also like to try to get something into Walmart? What would be the lessons that you would say to them? Hey, here's what I learned in my journey, and I think these are the most important things that you need to, you know, take away from my experience that will help you out.
I would say do your homework. So you know, sort of the first thing is making sure that you stand out amongst the competition in the competitive set. I would say to having a super compelling why. A really good pain point that you can solve for the customer, being able to articulate and communicate how you're going to solve those problems. Really understanding sort of the structure and how to do business at retail and sort of the expectations in terms of velocities, what it's going to cost, you know, what team members are you going to need, what finances are you going to need to kind of move the business forward. I'd say do some of that foundational homework so that you set yourself up for success.
Yeah. That's really awesome. The one thing I want to say to you, And I hope I do my homework too. I understand you were doing your homework on me. I'll do my little homework too, you know. And the one thing I have to say, first of all, I admire you for what you're doing. I admire your brand. I admire the tenacity that you have placed in the work that you're doing. But what I admire most is how helpful you have been to others who are coming up, even in the same space that you're in, that you are there to provide support and counsel and help them out. Man, that you have become my superhero for that, because so often we don't see that in the industry. We don't see people helping each other out. And so let me tell you how much I appreciate how much you're doing, not just for your own brand, but for others, in this space. So you should really be proud of that.
Well, thank you. If it feels good, right? It's all about, that's what I was aiming for back in those days when I didn't feel good working in finance, right? It's all about feeling good, and doing what's right feels good.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Yep.
And so as we end this conversation, I'd like to ask you, one thing. What would be your biggest piece of advice to anyone? Doesn't have to be an entrepreneur, but it's obvious that you've had an amazing journey, and it's not always been an easy journey.
Yeah.
What's the one piece of advice or the one thing that you want people to always remember as they journey on their journeys?
I think what's been really helpful for me, and could be helpful for anybody, entrepreneurs as well, is that whole thing going back to like the why. And I'll just speak from my perspective as an entrepreneur. As I've become crystal clear on my why and made sure that it aligns with our business's mission, it has really, really helped me to understand that I can build a really great life, personal life, and I can build a business that aligns with my why, and build something that's pretty magical and not self-serving. And I've come to this realization, some time ago, as we've been building the business and I've grown personally, the business doesn't just have to be about self-serving. And you can leverage your business to impact, not only yourself, your family, and others, but you can really leverage business to really make some impact.
You're doing it up.
Thank you.
You are an incredible example, CEO, impact man. You are doing it all.
Thank you.
And that's really great. And so thank you so very much for this time. Enjoyed this conversation. I definitely will continue to follow your journey. Because if you will give me the opportunity, would love to have a follow-up conversation with you just to see where you are see what you're doing. And so, but before I let you go, you want to hook a brother up? Tell me what's coming up next. What's the next hot item coming? You don't have to tell me the name or tell me the whole juicy story, but give me a little hint.
We have some really great body care products coming out that was like inspired by a fragrance line.
Okay.
That a lot of folks love. So excited about that.
Yes. You heard it here, y'all, first at Real Talk at the Barbershop. And let me tell you something. Not only did you hear it first, I'm going to be the first person using it. So you just know that. Calvin, thank you again very, very much. Really enjoyed this conversation. All the best to you. I know that the best is yet to come, and I hope I get to see it. It's going to be really awesome. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it and appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing, okay?
Thanks.
And everyone, thanks again for hanging out with us at the Barbershop. We'll continue this some other time, some other place, but we'll be here.